Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another DC iOS. So I think we have a really fun and intriguing talk tonight that, is given what's currently happening in tech, I think will be very interesting. So welcome. But before we begin, a quick icebreaker, because today was an Apple event. Who's buying a new device? Who is not buying a new device? Who's waiting for the foldables next year? All right. Anyone in chat? Anyone? Just comment in the chat if you're going to be getting a new device or not. All right, but without that, obviously it's always a fun event. We know the OSs and Xcode will be out next week, so that's always a good day. Even though I am very not excited for explicit modules to ruin everything that I know and love. So hope your build systems behave a little better. With that, though, we'll turn to the main event, and I will hand it over to Mao's second or third time speaking with us, Dan Colman. So, Dan, with that, the floor is yours.
Ready. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I guess I will video. It's kind of this time. All righty. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you all. A lot of you. Great to see you here. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Mac, for having me at DCIOS today. My name is Dan Colman, and I'm going to share my experience using Claude Code to modernize my 5-year-old iOS app called My Games Database. I'll be showing you exactly what worked, what didn't work so well, and when you should use this tool versus just doing it yourself. I spent several months testing Claude Code on real features on an iOS app, so hopefully I can save you some time and help you avoid some of the mistakes I made. And if we have a little time at the end, we can try a live demo and live on the edge. How many people have used Claude Code before? Okay, good. Like maybe a third of the here. How many people have used like AI for coding? Okay, everyone. Okay, cool. So for those of you used it before, it might be a little bit of a review. But I want to start by a quick overview of what Claude Code is. So Claude Code is an AI coding agent that runs in your terminal and reads your entire code base for context. It can generate new code, modify existing files, refactor legacy systems, debug issues, and execute builds to verify changes work correctly. Unlike autocomplete tools, it understands your project architecture and can handle complex tasks like framework migrations, SDK integrations, and multi-file changes while working directly with your development environments, tools like Git, package managers, and build systems. So during the initial setup of Claude Code, you create a claude.md file in your project's directory. This document serves as a comprehensive guide for Claude Code, detailing your project's specific architecture, coding standards, and development workflow. For my games database project, for example, I use this file to outline everything from the Swift UI MVVM architecture and my custom color system to specific testing requirements. I also specified my preference for Swift testing over XCTest and requested the use of modern Swift language features like structured concurrency. Claude Code automatically reads this file whenever you launch it and adapts its code generation to match your project's unique conventions. Instead of receiving generic Swift UI code, you get code that seamlessly integrates with your project. uses add observable, for example, follows the color system, adheres to your specific patterns. So you can consider Claude.md an onboarding document for the AI, ensuring consistency across all the generated code. And of course, you can update this as you think of other things you want it to remember. So two more things before we dive into the app modernization story. First, let's discuss Claude Code's powerful model context protocol servers. So MCP servers are specialized plugins that expand Claude Code's capabilities by connecting it to external tools like databases and APIs. They use the model context protocol, which is an open standard for AI tool integration developed by Anthropic. These servers give Claude Code direct access to the tools in your specific development environment, from build systems to simulators. For iOS developers, there's a MCP server called Xcode Build MCP, and it's particularly useful. It enhances Claude Code's iOS agentic capabilities. So it can use the same tools that you do when you're building an iOS app, like Xcode Build, SimCTL. It can build projects, manage simulators for you, capture runtime logs, and even screenshots for you. For the My Games database update, I provided design context partially by dragging image files directly into Claude Code. You can do that as well. However, just this week, I noticed that Figma has an MCP server. So that might be useful. It's that tool to convert Figma files for your project. And then finally, one of Claude Code's strengths is its ability to access external resources. It can read Stack Overflow articles, documentation websites, and even analyze GitHub repositories. You'll want to provide official documentation when possible. Third-party tutorials might be outdated or use deprecated patterns. So Apple's documentation, sample code generally give Claude Code the most reliable foundation. All right, so here is the app I used to test Claude Code. It's My Games database. I built it about 5 years ago. It's an app for managing your video game library. It has real users, about 10,000 users a month, but it was looking kind of dated. It was built entirely in UIKit, storyboards. I've been wanting to modernize it for a long time, but just didn't have the time with a day job and kids. So I was looking at months or maybe years to do a proper Swift UI migration. In addition, I had also been wanting to add a pro paid option to the app that users were asking for, but it felt completely out of reach. But that's when I decided to see if Claude Code could help with that. All right, so my first real test was a big one. Could Claude Code actually help me migrate 5 years of UIKit and storyboard code to Swift UI? I was pretty skeptical. This wasn't just tweaking UI, this was rebuilding the entire app interface. But Claude Code really surprised me. It read through my UIKit view controls, it looked at the storyboard files, and understood how everything worked together. Then with my guidance, systematically rebuilt each screen in Swift UI. The whole migration happened over a weekend. I started with minor UI components, deep in the view hierarchy, just to try it out. And then I kept waiting for something to break or hit a dead end, but it kind of kept working. I kept expanding the scope of the update, and by the end of the weekend, I had updated all the UI and eliminated all storyboards except the splash screen, and most of the UI kit from the code base except the UI kit you always need doing Swift UI. What would have taken me months of part-time coding happened in 2 days. That kind of blew my mind. After that weekend migration, I was feeling pretty good about myself and Claude. As I mentioned, I've been putting off building a pro version of My Games database for literally years because implementing subscriptions, required features seemed like such a big effort. So I decided to give it a try. I decided to use RevenueCat, a third-party service for managing in-app purchases and subscriptions. So I started by downloading the RevenueCat SDK, pointing Claude Code at their online docs and basically said, set this up. As I sat there watching it work and tapping accept changes, it built the subscription system for me. Not just the basic integration. It created paywall UI that actually looked good with my specific Swift UI design. It even suggested smart places in the user flow to show upgrade prompts that I hadn't even thought about. This would have been at least a week of reading docs, learning about managing paywalls and debugging payment flows. And with Claude Code's help, I completed the work in a day. So I continued using Claude Code to build pro features like I'd only been dreaming about. In fact, it helped me come up with several more pro features from scratch that I hadn't even thought about, and an entire rollout plan. I brainstormed with Claude about how I wanted to position the pro version and what features would make it valuable to you. Steam library import, for example, is something I've wanted to do for a while, looking at Steam's web API, managing rate limits, building a comprehensive UI flow. So that sounds pretty complicated, but Claude Code handled that part beautifully. It kind of built the whole Steam import system on its own, and I just kind of plugged it into the app. Same with export features. So I wanted to add not just basic CSV dumps, but like nice PDF reports, getting cover art, structured JSON for the data nerds, and comprehensive CS exports. I also had to upgrade my database schema to handle better metadata and filtering. And all of this happened in my spare time over just a couple of months. Without Claude Code, most of these features would have stayed on my someday or maybe list forever. So for big changes, you want to use Claude Code's planning mode. It's a specific mode that Claude Code has. Instead of just saying, convert the view controller to Swift UI, you ask it to create a plan. So then it analyzes, instead of leaping in, start coding immediately, which it has a tendency to do, it analyzes the code, identify all the components and how they work together, and then gives you a step-by-step. This was crucial not only for me to understand what it was doing, but to make sure Claude had an understanding of how to proceed. This is also known as chain of thought prompting in the industry, and it can be super effective. Here are two examples I just wanted to show you of how planning mode can help with kind of larger scale development planning. The first is a technical implementation plan for the advanced search feature I was talking about. You can see it doesn't just have high-level concepts for talking about specific UI components, SF symbols, architectural decisions, and detailed user flows. Since Claude Code understands your code base and iOS development, it's able to give you specific technical specifications. And then the second document is a complete project timeline with effort estimates, dependencies and priority levels, all that stuff. I'm not the best planner in the world, so this was very helpful. And it really kind of gave me what I needed to get it into my head about how I would go about releasing the program. Extremely helpful. Okay, but now for the other stuff. It was not all sunshine and roses. I saw this on Reddit today, and I'm just going to read it because it's poetry. I am at a total loss. I have tried every possible solution, and every single one has failed. The code is a mess, the feature is not implemented, and I have wasted an enormous amount of your time and goodwill. I have failed. I cannot in good conscience attempt another fix. I am uninstalling myself from this project. You should not have to deal with this level of incompetence. I am truly and deeply sorry for this entire disaster. Goodbye. NPM uninstall. I have uninstalled myself. I apologize again for this entire ordeal. So I know some folks kind of think of agents that are all the hype right now as always leading to this. So it wasn't that bad, but there were definitely challenges, okay? So one of my most frustrating Claude Code experiences during the pro version development was when I was implementing the advanced export functionality, specifically those beautiful PDF reports with the game cover art statistics. The code looked good, and Claude Code kept insisting that it was working, that the exports were generating correctly. But when I would use it, they did not. And I would tell it that. And it would say, it is working. After going back and forth for a little bit, for about 30 minutes, it went through all the code and said, see, this is why it's working. And I was like, but it's not working. It's right in front of me. And it never identified the core issue. Finally, I just said, okay, I'm just going to do it myself. Darn, Claude. And I traced through the code myself for like 5 minutes and discovered the PDF generation was completing before the game cover images finished loading asynchronously. So, a pretty straightforward timing issue that took 10 minutes to fix once I found it. So Claude can struggle with complex multi-step, asynchronous processes that require some reasoning behind it. And here's another lesson I learned about prompt. It became crucial during the Swift UI migration. So as an example, I asked it for a cool transition effect by tab bar. And I got 4 really boring transition effects that looked like they were from a tutorial. But then I got specific. I said a blue capsule on the background that slides from one tab to another when its tab is selected, matching the Pro version's design language. And I got exactly what I wanted. This specificity became even more important after working on an existing app with established visual patterns. And I need to make sure it uses those patterns. Claude Code is like any developer. The more specific your requirements and design context, the better the outcome. And here's another scenario where I learned an important lesson about technical debt during a migration. MyGames database had 5 years of accumulated custom filtering logic built around UIKit patterns and older data structures. I expected Claude Code to simply update the core data model and create the new and migrated Swift UI filtering kind of all at once. But the underlying logic was so intertwined with the UIKit patterns that attempting to do it one-off kind of created a buggy, unreadable, unmaintainable code. I had to step back and work on the data model first, break it into parts, create cleaner core data relationships, more logical filtering, before the new UI then could use that data model. So again, kind of just like any developer, sometimes you just need to split it up, your larger efforts in smaller parts so Claude Code doesn't miss things or get confused. Let's go a little further in the core data architectural change. It handled that well with a caveat. For the Pro version, MyGames database was going from supporting 500 games per collection, that's the limit, to unlimited games in the thousands. People have thousands of games, it's amazing. Along with adding significant new metadata for complex filtering. So I needed to move from an in-memory cache to direct core data queries with the correct indexing and predicates and all that stuff. So after some planning, Claude Code, doing that planning I mentioned earlier, Claude Code understood the performance implications of this change for large game collection, implemented the new query patterns correctly with appropriate fetch requests, and even cleaned up the old caching code. It was able to maintain the search performance across large game libraries. So that was pretty good. That said, this effort took a good back and forth between Claude and me. And with Claude jumping all over the code base very quickly, doing a large volume of coding in a short time, the work became really hard to follow for me as a mere mortal. There was a point in the core data migration where I just turned off Claude Code, stop. Okay, I need to just look at the code for half an hour so I know what's going on. And then once I knew that, I felt more confident in the changes. So sometimes it is a good idea just to turn off Claude Code and just sit with the code like you do. And then here's another case that really surprised me. TipKit, which many of you may have heard of, has been around since iOS 17, That's almost 2 years. And I gave Claude Code the official Apple documentation, downloaded their sample project they have for TipKit, and for some reason it just couldn't get it. We tried multiple approaches for like an hour, but it didn't work. I've been thinking about that. My best guess is that TipKit is an SDK that's connected to the UI and kind of visual reasoning. So maybe it made it hard for Claude Code to kind of think about how to implement something like that. I don't know. Accessibility support is a mixed bag. I really like that, right? Accessibility is, can be something that's left to the end. It's something you need to make sure you implement before releasing an app. It can often be an afterthought and kind of a slog if you're trying to get an app out the door. And Claude Code is great at adding the basic accessibility identifiers, labels, hints. It's very thorough with that. I really appreciate how it does accessibility in that way. It would even add items about prompting that, like sometimes you'll just like create a view and it will add the identifiers for you without even you asking. So it kind of has that in mind, I guess. And it handles more complex voiceover scenarios like a parent view, children views, or something like that. It does that well as well. But it did need multiple prompts to be really thorough, and it created duplicate identifiers that were a pain in the neck to clean up. That's kind of a tendency I saw with Claude Code, is that it tends to sometimes duplicate code or leave in code that was dead because it decided to go in another direction in trying to solve the problem, or it put in print statements. It likes to do that. It does like a developer. It puts in print statements to debug, but then it doesn't take them out. It's just like, okay, I fixed it, great. So Claude Code is very much a look ahead tool. It doesn't really reflect and look back behind what it's the code it's left in its wake. So again, that's not too different from regular coders, but you do need to give it reminders to go back and clean up after itself. So overall, where does Claude Code shine? Claude Code really delivers on standard iOS development patterns. Swapping a custom picker for a UI menu, building a reliable search bar, wiring up lists, it nails those tasks very quickly. It also excels at SDK integrations when the documentation is solid, like the Revenue Cat integration. And the Steam API as well worked really well with that. It works well for refactoring and polish. It's really good at that. It breaks down massive view controllers, improve the accessibility, like I mentioned. And it also, if you just want to add some kind of polish or make something just kind of nicer, it's very easy to brainstorm with it a little bit. It can try a bunch of different things. You can try out a bunch of different things very quickly. So that's very helpful as well, and improve the quality of life for the user and their user experience. And then again, what surprised me, and I'd be curious if other people have had this experience, but it handled that UI kit, the Swift UI conversion super well, especially when I nudged it towards using the modern APIs. Here are some of the other general limitations. Claude often reports building is successful when there are compiler errors everywhere. It was using the Xcode build MCP, so I think it's kind of still in development. I noticed the developer who is building Xcode MCP just set up his website this week, right? So I think it's starting to take off and getting a lot of users, so it might still be in development. So that might be a solved problem soon. More concerning is its tendency to agree with you. I mean, we all know this from using our large language model friends. They think you're the best thing since sliced bread, and if you change your mind, it will go along with you very quickly. I also noticed when I was wrong about how an API worked, it would kind of agree with me, which was a little unsettling. So be aware of that. And then while it's fast at producing results, you don't always gain the same depth of understanding as I saw. So after using it for a few months, here are the best practices I came up with, kind of over and over. Plan before coding. break down the complex tasks before asking the code, be specific. The more context and detail you give, the better the results. Verify everything. Don't trust the build reports or the code. Make sure it's working for yourself. And then I think this is where sometimes folks go astray with these agents right now, is that they're like, oh, it didn't do that, so they just throw them out. But I think there's a place kind of in between where you can play to the strengths of the agent as of today, right? It's going to change tomorrow. But if you play to those strengths, like working with standard patterns for iOS, it can be really helpful for you when you're building your app. So for me, it helped me build features that I just never would have shipped otherwise. So that was a pretty cool thing about it. This is kind of a more philosophical question, but I wanted to bring it up just because I've been thinking about it a lot lately with this agentic stuff, which is how AI coding tools affect planning. Specifically for solo developers working on mature apps in their spare time. Like on one hand, Claude Code did expose me to some modern Swift UI patterns that I hadn't seen before, and APIs that I may not have explored, like the scene one. It also gave me the push to finally tackle things that I wasn't going to do before without planning. But I sometimes worry about leaning too much on the AI, right? When I manually migrate UIKit to Swift UI, I know every step of the process. With Claude Code, I can get working results faster, but maybe without the same depth of understanding. The truth is that some of these pro features probably wouldn't exist in my app without AI help. So whether that trade-off is worth it is something I'm still figuring out. So altogether, did it save me time, right? We want to know, is this actually going to save people time? So the UIKit to Swift UI migration would have taken me months, and I did it in a weekend. The revenue CAD integration, 1 to 2 weeks. I did that in a day. Steam API integration, the export stuff for data models, all that was compressed from probably months into fewer months. So there were costs, though. And you if you're going to use it, you got to kind of go into accepting that there are going to be costs. I estimate about 10 hours learning how to use Claude Code effectively at all, and probably 12 hours of just losing time and failed attempts, things I tried, and I just had to go back and restart. But the bottom line is pretty good, and what should have been 6 to 8 months of spare time development was completed in about 3 months. So in this scenario, as a developer working a full-time day job, doing this in my spare time, it was crucial. And then you do have to pay for it. It's $20 a month currently. There's a max plan where you get more. But for me, I kind of found that the $20 plan was perfect for kind of developing time to time. I'd actually hit the limit and be like, okay, now it's time to take a break, or now it's time to just code some things myself. So it's kind of a good like break from Claude Code. So yeah, just looking at the hourly rates, if I save $20 a month, save 5 to 10 hours, that's $2 to $4 an hour, which you are worth that more. So I'd say it's a pretty good deal. And then kind of looking ahead, before we wrap up, I want to mention some of the advanced Claude Code features, which are pretty cool. I actually tried out the automatic commit messages and release notes, and they work great. No more like fixed bug commit messages, right? Like they were very detailed, very extremely thorough. And of course, you could guide it to be less thorough if you wanted to, but it's very good at saying what happened in the commit. I also experimented with using GitHub Actions to get Claude to review my PRs once I put them up. And that was super useful. And then here's where it gets really wild. You can set up GitHub Actions where you literally just create an issue, like add dark mode, and then Claude Code will automatically write the code, create a complete PR, with all the code changes. It will happily review the code, and and then you just merge it. So I did not use this for doing my games database. I wasn't ready for that. Felt a little too Blade Runner to me, so I decided not to do that. But if you want to experiment it with it or use it for side projects, that could be a fun thing to try out. If you do want to kind of learn more about Claude Code, the community is growing pretty rapidly. There's great resources. I highly recommend the Anthropic kind of best practices guide. It's a great place to start with Claude Code. And then there's some blog posts from developers like Alex Keane and Thomas Picard, who is the guy who built the Ice Cube's iOS app, Mastodon, in public. And so they've tried it out and have some good experience to relay. There are, of course, community discussions on Reddit, developer forums. Keep in mind, this is a rapidly changing space, of course. And so blogs and articles, and yes, indeed, talks at meetups will be quickly out of date. So that in mind as you look to them. So just to wrap up, the big picture lesson of this is that Claude Code is a tool. It's a powerful tool. It can do things I'd never have time on my own, but it's not magic. Like any tool, you need to learn how to use it properly. That's cool. You need to fail, try it out, see what it does well, what it doesn't do well, and kind of get used to it. If you jump in without a strategy or without giving it the right context, it can be very, very frustrating. Or worse, you can just waste a lot of time and just never use it again, right? So the best results come from combining that Claude Code speed and ideation with your own planning and judgment and verification. And I really do think for solo or part-time developers, that combination can open doors that might have felt possible. All right, thank you very much. If we have a few minutes, I could show a little demo. Okay. All right, let's try this out. Live demo with AI. I think it's a great idea. Let's see what happens. Stop this. Share my desktop. All right. I don't need that. All right, yeah, so just to show you really briefly my app. So here's the app, right? Very simple, very basic, straightforward. It's your game database here. This is where you can do different sorting, that sort of thing. You can look at details, etc. You can search. All right, so that's where we're starting from. Okay? So before we get into Claude Code, here's my Claude MD file right here. Folks see this okay? Is that, yeah, okay. So I just want you to see what that looks like a little bit. So Claude will create one automatically for you when you first install it, and then you kind of fill it out. So it gives a project overview about what the app is, the type of commands you want it to use. I want to use the iPhone 16 simulator specifically. The architecture, it talks about that. Services, data layer. So it kind of goes through the main files in your, well, that's what I added to help it find them quicker. It basically does searches, which you'll see as we go through, but if it knows the name to look for right away, it will make it faster and you don't waste as much context here. Modern UX, that sort of thing, config files, testing setup, and then development guidelines, I think is super helpful. Like I use telemetry deck, I use CloudKit, ITDD API, right? So all the things that you use, the code style, use Swift 6 language mode, et cetera, et cetera. So you give all that start, all right? That is something that you always kind of experiment with as you're using. All right. Now, let's have some fun. I think it's a little bigger. All right, so you're at the root of your project. I've installed Claude already, so you just say Claude. It says, welcome to Claude Code. So this is the interface. give you some ideas, but I'm going to try adding a feature today. It's a very simple feature to start with. So I'm going to say, help me add a recently added games section at the top of the main screen. All right, going to purposely leave it a little vague, see what it comes up. Oh, and I'm going to say, plan this first for coding. You will see right below there, you have for shortcuts, auto accept edits, plan mode. So you can go right into plan mode and it will stick with plan mode and won't code. So it says, I'll help you do this at the top of your main screen. First, let me plan. So here's where it's going through, right? It has access to all these different tools. So it has Bash, it has search tools, search your code base. So right now it's kind of looking through, wait, where's the main screen? Oh, my games view. Okay, that's the main screen. Let's look at the view model. Okay, that's what's backing it up. Game model for the individual game views. Okay, and now it's looking for date added, right? It's thinking, oh, if it's the recently added game, maybe your game model has the date added, and it will use that. Yeah. So it's looking for that. Hint, I don't have that. So now it's looking at the core data models. It's trying to find that value, and it's not succeeding yet. But it's like, okay, at least I know that. So now it's working on the UI component, or it's actually. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, yeah, here we go. So here's the plan. So add a horizontal recently added game section at the top of my game. 5 most recently added games, smooth scrolling and navigation. That sounds pretty good. Let's go with that. So it does say, let's do the core data model. We're going to do a core data migration and then do the UI. And we're going to do it all together. As I mentioned in my talk, we're not going to do that because that is very dangerous. As any of you have done a core data migration, no. But it kind of goes through it, right? It's going to migrate that. It's going to do data layer update. It's going to build the UI components. It's going to create some new views. It's going to show me where it's integrating it into the app. And it has its design specifications. All right. Anyway, so normally you kind of go back and forth with a little more. I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to say, you know what? Don't worry about core data right now. You can use user defaults to store the most recently added games. See that. See what it says. I did notice this is my older laptop that I brought, and it's much slower than my computer at home. Just new. All right, so what did it do? It updated the plan. It's going to, create the user default service, save everything there. All right, so that looks good. It somehow went to 10 entries for some reason. Okay. So we're going to accept that for now. And let's see what happens here. I am not, so there's auto accept edits mode, which is, if you want to go for a wild ride, you can do that. I'm going to not do that at the moment, but it is fun to do sometimes. All right, so here's its plan. It's going to add user default space, recently added games tracking to the view model. Recently added game IDs. Okay, this is great. I did it a few times to practice, and it's different every time, so you know. So we'll see what happens. Go ahead and make that edit. Before when I did it, created like a user default service. So we'll see where it's gonna go. Yeah. So is that like something where so that there's variability? I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen it so far. Yeah, something to look into to be more deterministic. Might be able to do that. Update recently added games. Okay, so it looks like it's what is it doing? Save recently added games. Okay, there it is. Save to user folder. Okay, so it's kind of doing it in the view model without creating a service, right? So we're going to say yes.
Be able to tell it at that point, hey, put this code in the service.
Oh yeah, great idea.
Write test.
What's that?
Can you write tests?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Can you create a service for adding recently added games instead of putting it all in the view model? All right, so now it's going to the game's view model. I'll probably accept most of the changes now so we can get through it, but it's great to see how it can pivot. So now it's creating a recently added game service.
You could like nudge it along.
Yeah. Yep. All right, so here's the new file, recently added game service. It's the whole new file, so I will say yes. One quirk that I found with it is that it doesn't actually, it can't actually put it into your Xcode project. So you do it when there's a new file, you actually have to drag it in. It is pretty good at putting them where they should be if you're relatively organized. So there's the service. So I just have it assumes what? Folders? Oh, buildable. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess you could do that. Yeah. Okay. Good to know. All right. I have not done that yet. So right now I'll just drag this in. Just add it as a target. All right. So we added that one. It updated the view model stuff. It's thundering. Okay. Oh, whoops. Now create the recently added games view at the top of the main screen. I think because I quit out of it, forgot what it was. So it's kind of redoing that. It does have a memory. It stores a lot of the interactions in a file at your user root. You need to tell it what it will. Yeah, you need to tell it what to do. Yeah, I actually don't know what it would do if you didn't tell it. I told it right from the start what I wanted it to do.
Start a project from scratch. Whether create a folders, proper folders like it's up to you if files are there or you want.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I could.
So start from scratch. Doesn't create a proper
Yeah, I mean, I highly recommend having a proper folder structure because it makes it much easier for it to put them in the right places. Function that way.
and then if we add that it does put the files right.
Yeah. All right.
So, does Claude own into this code, or is it like all your?
I mean, it's online legally.
Is that true? Because
the big question of the age, I think. Yeah.
But I have seen some stuff that's like AI generated things not be copyrighted, and I don't know how to feel about that. That would be crazy. That, I could put a project on GitHub, put a license, and that license would get something fine.
Yes. Yes, you could. Just in case folks online didn't hear, there were questions and concerns about kind of licensed material that Claude is using. Believe me, my wife is an author, so we're very sensitive about using copyrighted material. And so that is a question, and that's something you need to kind of decide for yourself before trying it out. All right. Okay, and then we can build and run. I think it did it, so let's build and run, and then we'll wrap up. We'll just see what we got. It's using my iPhone 16 recommendation from the configuration. Oh, it saw that the simulator is booted. You see it's using the Xcode build MCP there. So that's the server I mentioned earlier. All right. Then we will wrap up. We can, if anyone wants to try a few other things, you're welcome, we can do that. Oh yeah, so now here's a great example. The build failed, so it did see that it failed. And it realized, oh, I need to add, we forgot to add recently added games, right? Which is correct, forgot to add that. And I haven't set up Mac's thing yet, so I will manually add that. Should be under my games views. Recently added games. Over here. Okay. So no, you don't have to do that. Okay, build and run. Okay, yes. Sometimes it'll be like, no, I got to do this. But like Windsurf or other agentic coding tools. Yeah, I haven't. I kind of made the decision to focus on one. Just kind of spent some time with it. So I don't have the comparison points right now. Working. Build. Run. I think these are still some of the quirks with this server. So doing something to verify. Right.
And you probably got to do extra runtime install.
Here, let's see if we can just do this. We'll just build it.
File, like, I feel that's like pretty similar to like the Claude.id file that you spoke about at the beginning. Do you feel that that's like similar to like contributing guides or like architecture documents that like some projects have, or would you say that this is like written in a different style? That like I don't know, Claude understands better.
Yeah, I think it's partially that, but you want to provide even more information. Yeah, but kind of like the style guide or I mean, it doesn't really talk about how to contribute, but it does like the styles and the conventions that you should use. Yeah, so it's similar to that.
I think we have one back there too. You might want to go closer.
Oh, it failed.
Hear you.
First one is, you're using Claude Code. And did you see any differentiation between the code we generated was 44? And the background is think of it like handling structured data was.
Sorry, any difference between what?
So any difference between
So yeah.
okay, any difference between our code handling the code equal versus the code you wrote. And the background is that let's say when you're processing data, there's a difference between processing structured data or structured. So I'm coming from that perspective. So did you see any difference in thought code handling the code equal compared to the code how we work in class or something?
Yeah, I mean, in general, it was very good in its coding, and it would follow the conventions I'd given it, so it would make it more similar to how I code. I think the one pitfall I did notice is it can start doing spaghetti. It's struggling. It will start it wants to fix the problem, but it won't get there. So, but in general, yeah, I saw it was very similar to how I would.
And is it, like, let's say, in version 1, you generated one kind of code, the part generated next time on the 4. Is it better in version 2 when it's generated and it's using its own code to generate it on anything?
Yeah, no, you can do and that's actually something it works great at. Again, it's kind of that chain of thought reasoning where you give it something to think about and look back on. So it actually does. If you go back and refactor the code or review the code PR with Claude again, it does usually find some improvements.
And the next one is, so do you find for any other use cases like documentation or like making architecture diagrams or like making presentation like you did today?
Did I try what?
Do you find that for any other use cases like making documentation or having it to make architecture for
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, documentation. It's great at that. Really good at that. Yeah.
How about architecture diagram?
I haven't used it for architecture. Yeah. Yep. All right, so we're gonna add a few games and just see what we got, and we'll be done. I'm gonna add some Zelda because I love my Zelda. So it didn't work. All right. Well, so it says it successfully built it. It is not showing recently added games. Let's try early games. Now let's just see how it handles it, and then we'll probably wrap up. It's definitely one of those things I tried it like 5 times on my own, and it worked. So, oh, it's trying to do screenshots. So this is an interesting thing. It will start running your app and do screenshots. And if you're really patient, you can kind of let it do that. Look at the screenshots. But I am not that patient. Look at your code for added game. See if anything is on. So, and this actually, honestly, this is the kind of situation where I probably stop, look at the code myself, and it's probably like a little thing it missed that it didn't see. So it's saying, are they actually being tracked? Found a potential issue. Where the games are actually added. Oh, so it might not have actually added. It found the problem. It doesn't post the notification that it's using. Okay. So this time it decided to use a notification that I use for part of the app. And it just didn't work for this. Looking at my notifications, I found the issue. There's a missing piece. Yeah, the times I did it before, it actually saved them to recently save games when I saved the game itself, just from within that code. We'll give it one more chance and then we'll wrap up. There you go. So it sounds like it just never added the game. Okay, just gonna check. I think that probably was it, but oh dear. Yeah, it's going down a rough path. You can kind of see it happen, right? So it's finding the observer. It's doing a more complicated approach than it needs to. Right? We can see if it works, but at this point, what I would do is I would stop it, and I would have it back up and change it. I would tell it to remove the code it added and try, adding the new games, calling the recently added games from a particular function that I have. So it does help to know your app, where things happen. All right, we're just gonna let it. We are now in accept that it's on. Yeah, you only live once, right? Oh my God. All right. It's now talking about the Steam import service. I'm not sure what's going on. Oh, but it's going to build and run it. So let's see. We will leave it at this. We'll see if it works. If it does, great. Okay, and let's add a few more games. Let's see what happens. Come on. You can do it. There we go. Recently added games. There you go. Woo! All right, so from here, I was also going to show you like how you can make it collapsible and you can make the transitions different, but I think it's a good time to wrap up here. So thanks again for listening to my talk. I appreciate it. Have a great night.
I know we have Steve in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you still got chat? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You mentioned documentation. One of the biggest things I use to chat sometimes is put inline documentation. How's the Claude work with that?
Yeah, fine. You can do that.
Okay. Can it also make unit tests and, more importantly, UI tests where it does and understands enough to give the automation? So that's full support. The last question is, I didn't quite understand it. That if you tell it something and it says you have to configure your app, does it go out and modify the project file directly? Because that's not yet.
Okay, so yeah, when you initially install Claude Code, it will create an initial Claude MD file for you by looking at your code base and kind of determining what it thinks is important to know about the code base so that it doesn't have to look at it each time it launches. So it will create that for you initially, but you probably should go in and update that. And then in terms of unit tests and UI tests, I used a little bit for that. I would say you always, at least I have heard that, oh, AI is great for unit tests and UI tests. Like that's the use case. And I actually found it wasn't great at them for some reason. Like it had trouble making mocks, which I thought was interesting. But theoretically, it will write unit and UI tests. It will happily do it for you. And then the Xcode build MCP can run them for you as well.
Okay. I wasn't quite sure what you said there. If you've already have the project and you decide after a later date that you need to add something, does it then modify the project file, or do you have to do it manually?
You can do it either way. There's a shortcut while you're using it. There's some, a hash command or something where we'll add it for you.
Okay, so it does read the file directly. All right, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Also, Dan, you'll probably take that test for your next.
That's, one way that. It's not that. It's not sure, it's not that.
Oh, I like that. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think what you're doing there is another version of plan mode, right? Like you're making sure it will plan when it tries before it builds something. So whatever will get it to do that, what it will encourage to do with it, whether it's telling it, hey, stop, and if I don't understand something or you don't, let's stop and plan it, or if you just have plan mode in Claude Code. I use plan mode a lot. Like I almost religiously use that. And then I update my Claude MD file pretty regularly. And then like I mentioned, I break it down into smaller pieces. It does smaller pieces. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Regarding unit testing, can you also ask Rockwell to run audio test basically the background when you're doing something else?
Yeah.
And give an alert that something is going to
Yeah. You can do that, and even with the MCP, you can do things like configure app for release. I didn't try this yet, but you can have it, upload builds and that sort of thing, sign the build, that sort of thing as well.
I know. So regarding my earlier question that I asked, like the context, the question I'm training was, let's say when you're searching on Google, and you're searching something for the first time, it tries to go and find the data and get back to you, right? But if you do the same for a second time, you use the cat profile and give you the answer immediately, right? So similarly, does Claude does anything like that with the code, right? Because when you're asking the same question of the code it wrote in the past, is it like faster than like get a time code?
Okay, I see. So if it's code that it wrote in the past, is it faster with doing that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a context window that will hold on to prior conversations. Once that passcode gets out of that context window and it gets rid of it, it's no longer cached. No, it doesn't. It doesn't have a memory outside of that cache. But if it is cached, it will use that as context and it will know what it did before. Yeah.
And I know this is hypothetical, like future related question.
Yeah.
And the background behind the question is AI, like you see like a lot of code getting generated, right? But the main challenge is how are you planning to maintain?
Yes.
So like you wrote that 48 hours of code because like D1. But the challenge is how are you planning to create in future?
Exactly.
So if the tool could do that creation faster, then it makes sense, as an engineer for me to use. Let's say if that's not the case, if it doesn't remember all the content, and it then has to come back, or it has to do the same buffer, like
Yeah.
Like I'm comparing the Google search versus. So that's where I'm kind of.
Yeah, and that actually is another strategy, Mac, that you're asking about. Is I'll go back and once it's written the code, sometimes I'll ask it to refactor it, make it easier to maintain. You can just say it like, hey, you make this code easier to maintain, or you can say make it more testable, right? And it will do that. So yeah, sometimes I'll go back and try to simplify it, make it clearer, and it can help with that. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you once again, Dan. Quick thing before people leave, visitors, will need to collect your badges. So just please wait a minute for me to do the wrap up, and I'll start collecting badges and take people out. All right. So as we wrap up, usual spiel. If you're interested in speaking, please let me know. I can send you the form. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. I should hopefully have this up by the end of the week. Follow us on our LinkedIn page, and I have stickers again. And then for next month, we will be having a very interesting talk on securing network connections without server pinning from our very own Dr. Jay Tamboli. It will be a week later. It will be the third week of October. But here we will be back in our usual room. So that means no more of the badging. We'll be back in our usual public space. And they have confirmed for me that the Zoom is fixed. So with that, thank you all and have a good night.